Lesson 76 of Unlocking the Prophetic. I titled it first, The Scribe, Unlocking the Prophetic. If you want to get the understanding of the scribe, you need to go back to the very first teachings of this. It'll be lesson 1, 2, and 3, I think it is. And to get the understanding of the scribe, how that is a prophetic office, I believe, today. And that's the one we're sitting in. The subtitle to this teaching is Changing the Spiritual Atmosphere by Being Transparent with God. We started that a little bit last week about the transparency of walking with God, of being with God. And this transparency, if the first thing you're encountering in trying to understand this title is, oh no, that means I've got to reveal the secrets of my heart. I mean, that is thrown in there, but that's not the main reason that I'm putting this teaching here, is for you to reveal the deep, dark secrets of your heart. That's between you and God, and we all need to be working on that daily anyway. So that's a given. So try to wrap your spiritual brains around another aspect of there's a greater reasoning behind transparency with God. I think I mentioned last week when you're fully walking, when we are fully in the Spirit, we can walk through walls, right? We're totally transparent means we can go through things. We can walk through things. If I was totally transparent right now, I could go right through that wall because I was so transparent. Transparency is a prophetic secret of how to walk through life and not get killed. It's the transparency of the Spirit. Walking in the Spirit is a transparency. Can you hear that? It's a transparency. Now, let's move forward with it. A routine of being transparent with Jesus is the beginning of a true disciple. Now, we're in a series now at the church, or a season, if you will, of being a disciple of Christ. And so in the prophetic, I'll go off into those areas of how a disciple is truly a prophetic person. And to be a prophetic disciple, transparency is not negotiable if you really want to walk in this thing. It's just not negotiable. Because to be in the Spirit and to walk through life and to walk through things in life or to walk through things with people in life comes from a transparency. Now, transparency is an honesty. Another facet of the definition of transparency is honesty. Honesty is unto transparency. If we're going to walk in. Now, nowhere does God say perfectionism equals walking in the Spirit. Nowhere does it say sinless. Nowhere does it say any of those things. The key to walking in the Spirit is honesty and transparency. All right, is everybody there? Now, the act of being transparent with God shouts that we trust Him and that we want to be taught by Him. There again, we're going into a definition of a prophetic person. If you want to receive prophetic revelation, transparency is not optional. One reason you got to be transparent is so that there's not anything in you that is hindering the light of God coming in to be prophetic with. Now, it stops the surprises, I call it. In life, there are distractions just everywhere. Has anybody noticed it? It's just distractions everywhere. It's like you can't even get any. I used to have a few distractions during the day. Now I try to get a few things done amongst all the distractions. Y'all know the feeling. It's just all of this distraction is everywhere. Well, transparency, what does it do? It helps to stop these surprises in life, or these, what I call, all of these distractions. Transparency is the authority over your distractions. Now I'm going to show it to you. Transparency is an act of walking in truth. Truth, today the question is, why truth? Well, truth is subjective. Anybody heard that one? Have you ever come up to, say you're coming up to a red light and you stop, it's 2 or 3 lanes beside you, and you come up to the red light, you're sitting there looking at the red light, and all of a sudden you feel like you're moving. Well, is he rolling or am I rolling? Has anybody ever done that one? Oh, God, you start hitting the gas and the brakes and everything, trying to figure out. And then what do? You look across the car at a building, because the building gives you your balance and your bearings of if you're moving or not. Right? That's what the truth is. The truth is solid. It's in one place. It never moves. If you don't have the truth to compare yourself with, you won't know where you are. Are you with me? So is the truth necessary? Very necessary. Critical. So we, as a prophetic people, the truth is important because it's what we gauge our life up to see what's going on here. If you don't have that building over there, it'll take you 5 minutes to figure out who's moving, who's not. Isn't that a weird feeling? You know what I'm talking about? It's such a fun. Well, just imagine this. People are going through life without that building. It equals confusion. You say the person's not very stable. Why? Because you don't have anything stable to compare your life to. So is it necessary? If you don't want to be confused, frustrated, anxiety, mad, if you don't want to have these emotions, you got to look to your right. Is there a building standing still? Is there a truth somewhere? So, as a prophetic people, is the truth the solid thing in our life? Yes. So the more truth that you operate in your life, the better reflections of stability you're going to see. To be prophetic with. As a prophetic voice, people try to compare a prophetic voice with how they feel or think. And God says. Right? God says. Comparing it to their own individual life. Instead of comparing it with the building to your right or the truth. It's the truth that we prophesy out of. The truth is important to us. Do we know the truth? Yes. Matter of fact, the truth, if known, will set you free. So is the truth worth anything? You've got to see, as a prophetic people, we are in a society and in a culture today that the truth is irrelevant or only relevant to you. So the truth is trying to be destroyed. What is it about when all the presence of the Word of God wants to be taken down everywhere? It's because it represents the truth. And people are walking around like they're drunk and they hadn't taken a thing, except they don't have the truth to compare their life to. Have you got that one? All right, let's move on. Transparency, I said, let me go back. Transparency is an act of walking in the truth. So you have to value the truth before you can walk in it. How can you walk in something you don't value? You won't. So you have to value the truth. Now here's where we're going. To value the truth puts a value on the truth. If you're going to value the truth, when you do value the truth, you can spend what has value. If truth doesn't have value to it, you can't spend it. It won't work. When you have faith, When you have value in truth, it means you have faith in truth, which puts it into the supernatural realm. I've taught you a couple weeks ago, you can believe something and not have faith for it. But when you have value in the truth, that means you have put that much faith in truth. The enemy is constantly trying to devalue truth. Doesn't change the value of truth. It's just how much do you value truth is by how much you can spend it. You only spend what has value. Now, being transparent is a powerful thing if you can trust yourself and be trusted by others. Now, whether you know it or not, if you try to sell yourself to somebody, you'll fail. If you're transparent with somebody, they will value you. Maybe won't like you, but they will value the truth you walk in. When we are transparent with God, our problems can be solved faster. Is anybody for that one? I've been working on this one for 20 years. Try being a little more transparent, open and honest with God. Transparency with God grows in authentic relationship with Him. The more transparent, the more authentic. Now, building a relationship with God truly begins to take shape when a problem is encountered, then resolved together. You see, we've got this idea that we want to get ourselves fixed up and everything and then go to have a relationship with God. No, God wants to fix problems with you. When you come together and fix a problem, it makes those two people a little closer. Yeah, you see, we got to get it out of our brains, this perfection thing. God knows we have problems. You want to draw the presence of God? Tell Him you got a problem. That's what draws God. He's into it. He's into fixing them. Now, the truth He tells you might not like, but it'll still fix it. Now, a problem-solving relationship will take any relationship to a higher level. Come on, church. Talk to me, somebody. Let me know I'm on the right path here. There you go. A problem-solving relationship will take any relationship to a higher level. So you say, oh, I want to go higher with God. Okay, take Him your problems. But see, reason we don't want to take Him, we know He'll fix them. We don't want to take them. We don't want them fixed. So we have to make a decision, don't we? Transparency brings your life into alignment is what it does. So you got problems, I got problems. I'm going to be transparent with God. What it does, it aligns us with God. The straightest, the fastest, the quickest way from one point to another point is in a straight line. So when you're straight with God, you're going to get it fixed quicker. Right? Bam, it's just going to happen because we're open, we're transparent with God. If something's not getting fixed, check on it and see how transparent you are really being. Or are you trying to kind of throw God a curve and see if you can fool Him? Right? He's waiting for you to throw Him a fastball. Straight. Transparency creates the ability to engage more life. We came to Christ, we were told we had abundant life, but yet we're waiting to experience it. I submit to you the thought to consider. Transparency creates the ability to engage in more life. Transparency helps you become more genuine. Are you not tired of all of the mask? Are you not tired of trying to be all things to everybody? I mean, surely to goodness we're getting wore out with something. I'm not saying we're not nice and courteous, but come on, we're trying to be everything. Transparency helps you be more genuine. When you are more genuine, you learn faster. You know why? Because you're not talking to the mask. You're talking to me because I'm transparent. You ever had anybody talk to you and they're looking over there? Right? What's the problem? You're throwing up a mask. You can't hear well. You can't see well. You don't have ears cut out and holes cut out. It's a mask. Covers you. When you learn faster, you start feeling more responsible. See, it's hard to be responsible when you don't know what to do. Responsibility is a huge thing. Hopefully we'll get into it this morning. Why transparency? I did this one last week. This is in a prison. And the only way light can get in is through the holes in the wall, the windows. So transparency, what does it do? Transparency, it takes down any obstacles that would diffuse the light. Jesus says this, you are the light of the world. Oh, I got it colored blue. At one time you were in darkness, but now you are the light of the Lord. Now the scriptures use that we were once in darkness, but now we're light. Well, why did it say that? You were once in darkness, but now you're in light. Again, Jesus spoke to them saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me, disciple, will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of what? Light of life. Now here we start making an association between light and life. All right, if I make an association of light with life, what would I make an association with darkness? Death. The wages of sin are, light and life, darkness and death. So how much darkness can I tolerate in my life? It says according to how quick you want to die. Right? If light equals life, all right, prophetic people, you can't escape this, darkness equals death. Do you want to run away from death? Just expel the darkness. Do you think darkness in your life can equal some death? Yes. I do. If light can equal life, darkness can equal death. Got her? Got it. Now, I'm going to go into transparency and what? Being translucent. What is translucent? We're going to deal with light here a little bit. Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight. But all things are made and opened unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do. Now you need to understand, our transparency is not so God can see us. I mean, how good did that fig leaf do? Come on. It didn't do a whole lot. So, transparency is not for God, it's for us. God's light is always shining. Are you with me? All right, let's do it like this. Revival is always here. Now you got it, didn't you? It's always here. We're waiting for it to come, but it's here. The light of God's here. What is revival? It's the light of God. It's here. Well, what's stopping it? Well, I guess God just ain't in the mood to shine today. What's going on? We are holding back revival. We got to own it. You remember my teaching? I'll never get to it today, but I got some more on it. You got to own it. If you do not own where you are in your spiritual life, you will not receive any more light. Am I being too honest? Transparency is an openness with God. How do you know? What is the test if you're transparent or not? What's the test? The test is how honest with God are you being. You say, well, Alan, I'm the same place I've always been. You're not being any more transparent with God. If you let more light in, and understand, if you let more revival in, if you let more light, the revival's here. Light's here. God's here. It's your choice with how much of God you let in. Now, with that in mind, there's no fear of being transparent with God. I thought I'd do this first before I get you scared. No, you're not going to be scared. It's in Romans 8. There's therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. There is none. Who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life, Spirit of what? There it is again. In Christ Jesus has made me free from the law of sin and death. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God did by sending His own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh on account of sin. He condemned sin in the flesh, but the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us, who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. So there's now no condemnation. That's the reason I say we don't come to God perfect. We come to God in honesty. Now, sometimes we confuse honesty with what you want in life and God's not delivering. You see, this, in the prophetic, I'm not talking about God serving you. I'm talking about you serving God. Now, if you want to talk about God serving you, you need another teacher. I'm about you serving God in your life, for there I believe you will find abundant life. If you are in Christianity 101 and God is your genie, you're not for this class. God's not sitting around waiting everywhere to give you all of everything you think you're wanting in life. Now, He is here to help you solve your problems. Transparency and translucency. Transparency is having the property of transmitting light without appreciable scattering so that the bodies lying beyond are seen clearly. This is a dictionary definition. Transparency. It's having the property or the wherewithal of transmitting light without scattering so the bodies lying beyond are seen. In other words, if you take a particular glass, it's transparent. The light goes right through it. And the light goes right through the glass, goes right through this podium, say. All right, you see, this is blue carpet over here, and you're looking through that glass and you see blue carpet. Well, why is that carpet blue? It's because, look, there's white, light is white. There's white light coming through here, and it's shining on the blue carpet. What makes the carpet blue? It's because it's reflecting blue. It's absorbing everything else in that white light. Are you with me? So I say it's absorbing. It stops it because it's opaque. It's not fully opaque, but it's translucent in that it only reflects blue. Are you with me? But light is white, but that carpet reflects blue. It's reflecting one color. But light is white, right? But it's reflecting blue. Transparency means the white light comes all the way through, but it'll show up what it reflects on the back. When we're transparent, the light of God comes through us and reflects in us the sin and the disagreement with God we have in our life. There's areas in our lives that are not transparent. But we need to be transparent so the light can get in to give a reflection. Say, Alan, I want to hear from God. Okay, I'm helping you here. How do you know if you're not being transparent? It's because you're still on this idea of what God won't do for you and how unhappy your life is. Now, I'm not saying that's not a topic, but it's not a topic for here. That's how you know if you're treating God like a genie or if you're asking God to shine His light into your heart and let you see what's on the other side. The transparency allows you to see. Not only does the transparency allow you to see and hear, but as you see and hear, that same act of transparency will let you see out there. When you go to a glass that's transparent, you see both ways. So the prophetic lifestyle is one that's constantly walking in a repentive state with God. That's the reason we say if you're humble, you can see. What keeps you humble is because the true light of God's getting into your life. That'll keep you humble. Is anybody catching what the Spirit of God's trying to say here? Now, transparency, fine or sheer enough to be seen through. Transparency. What's transparency in a business or a government context is honesty and openness. In general, transparency is the quality of being easily seen through. You ever talk to people and it takes you 30 minutes just to try to think you can figure out just a little bit where they're coming from? Sometimes it takes a lifetime. There's not much, or some people you can go walk up to them about 2 minutes, feel like you've known them your whole life. They're just so transparent. Here I am. You'll think, boy, they need to keep their mouth shut a little bit. See a little too much. You got to really, okay, that's another story. Radical transparency is a way of relating to someone in which you reveal inner self and true experiences. That's what transparency is. So as we're transparent with God, you see, please hear me. When you're transparent with God, that means God opened up, the light of God comes in, you see more of yourself. But you got to understand something. You'll also see more God. Got her? You see more God. What is the spiritual science to see more God? Be more transparent. But you have to allow God to see in. And when God sees in, and you feel convicted, did you know that is the greatest act of a prophetic move in the Spirit that there is? Because it's at that point you can see out better. Amen. You got it, didn't you? Yes. I could feel it. Now let's do translucency. Being translucent. Translucency is permitting light to pass through, but diffusing it so that the person's objects, etc., on the opposite side are not clearly visible. In other words, when we're not completely transparent with God, we're translucent. So, when light comes through something that's translucent and not transparent, well, I think I put a picture up here. I did. You see that glass? The one on the left is what you say is translucent, the one on the right is transparent. Now, light's going through both of them, but the problem is the one on the left has distorted the light. Why? It's because there's properties in it that causes the light, the white light, to come in to angle in different angles. It doesn't go straight. That's the excuses in our hearts. And when we blame other people. If you don't own it and blame everybody for your life, you are translucent in the spirit. And you think you can hear God? No. You'll hear God, but it's all fragmented. It's distorted. And you want to know why nothing's changing. Well, I'm sitting in here, I'm listening to the Word of God, sounds pretty good to me. Well, is anything changing? That's the question. If nothing's changing, somebody's got to grow up and say the truth. Somebody's got to put the big boy breeches on and tell the truth to yourself. You're not being honest with God. You're treating God like a genie, and God's not doing what you want Him to do, so you're mad. You're not growing closer to God, and I'm mad. God ain't treating me right. So therefore, God's given me permission to sin. I'll show God I'm just going to go sin because God won't do for me what I want. And y'all shut me down when I lie. You know I'm telling you the truth. Translucency takes the light of God and distorts it. Therefore, we have 10,000 denominations upon the planet. I'm going to get into that one. Just stay through the commercial and you'll see it. Now, translucent, and you got transparency, then you got what? Opaque. Now, what is opaque? See, opaque blocks all light. So you got transparent on the left, there's a glass there actually, and you got translucent in the middle, which lets some light through, but something in there's distorting the light. Then you got opaque, and that's when no light comes through. Most Christians are in the translucent spiritual state. They sit around and let light hit them, but it goes over here, goes over there, and goes over here. It doesn't do anybody any good. You got a mess. You can't see. Can you see? The Apostle Paul said, he said, I see through a glass darkly, but face to face. Remember the scripture, Corinthians? That's what those words are talking about in Greek. You're going from translucent to transparent. Now that's a spiritual operation. Don't apply it to anybody else. This is for you, for yourself, so you can get closer to God and be a prophetic voice. Opaque. Darkness is the absence of life. That's opaque. Opaque means it's solid, lets no light through. So darkness, okay, opaque. If it's dark on this side and there's light on this side, but something's stopping it, how many plants don't grow in the dark? Nothing grows in the dark. Except old mold and old critters you don't want. Life. Darkness is the absence of life. The difference between translucent, transparent, and opaque materials is this. Transparent are objects allow all the light to pass through them. Translucent ones allow partial light to pass. Opaque ones allow no light to pass. Now, as you can see, this is just a little illustration. On the top is transparent. You got a flashlight, goes through a glass. You can see. The second one is translucent. It's got something in there, but you can see partially. And of course, opaque is the bottom where you can see nothing. Why? You see, if you see, here's my definition of sin. Disagreeing with God. That's my definition of sin. Disagreeing with God. When you disagree with God, you are, what's happened to your glass? No, well, it'll make it opaque, but at best you'll be translucent. In other words, disagree. If you're a non-believer, fully opaque, yes. Now, when we're fully transparent, which is the bottom one there, we see clearly. You know in 2 Peter chapter 1, It says, if you do not have these things, you can't see far off. You remember that scripture? You can go there in 2 Peter chapter 1. It says, if you have the divine nature, which is the nature of heaven, that you can see this entrance into the kingdom. Read it, 2 Peter chapter 1. But if you lack these things, you can't see what's happening. It's translucent. You can't see. You need to clean the glass. So, when we sin, we're causing what we see to be translucent. Are you with me? So how can I see better? I take on the divine nature. How do I take on the divine nature? I clean my windshield. Why do I want to clean my windshield? So you can see the truth. Then and only then will you know if you're rolling at the stoplight or not. Because you got to see the truth. The Bible said when we were in darkness, we were blinded. We couldn't see. It's all about seeing and not seeing, and just because you got born again doesn't mean you can see everything there is to see. Just means you can see. I have people all the time giving me a report on darkness. I'm like, okay, you got a little light. Do you see any light? Huh? Do you see any light? So I wonder, if you see no light, is your windshield dirty? Or you just want to give a report on how bad everything is? I know how bad everything is. Let me say this if I can figure the words out. The report, no. It's the conclusion will not make you sick, but the report will. In other words, somebody can come up to you and say, I need you to pray for my child. They're on drugs. I say, okay, I'll be glad to. That conclusion at that point in that life will not make you sick. If they come up to you and say, my child went down here and stole at the bank, stole at the bank, bought some drugs off of Sally, went in there and somebody got shot, and there's another one dead over in the corner from OD. And you see what I'm saying? The report will slime you and make you sick. I maybe shouldn't be putting this in right now, I don't know. But it's too late, isn't it? I've done said it. The end conclusion won't make a person sick in the communication, but the report will. See, the news is full of report. It'll make you sick. In conclusion, you can handle that and pray for it. Be just fine. You sit around and listen to all these reports, you're going to be one sick baby. I don't know why in the world I went there. I guess I went translucent or something. I don't know what happened to me. Now, translucent filters. All right, you see those different colors? Based on your filter, produces what color of that white light that comes through. In other words, this carpet's blue. Why? Because it reflects blue. But white light came through. Did you know white light's got all the colors? When you break down white light, it's all colors. So, when the white light comes through, it will reflect the color. That carpet's absorbing colors, it's stopping colors, and it's reflecting colors. That carpet's not absorbing blue. It's reflecting blue. When you're a prophetic person and you're walking in the Spirit, you'll reflect white light. Now, you can reflect the blue of the white light, but it's one view. It's not the whole counsel. Anybody get it? That carpet is stopping every color of this white light except the blue. So it's reflecting blue. As a prophetic people, God's wanted us to reflect white, which includes blue, red, yellow. It includes all the colors. Are you with me so far? When white light shines on a blue object, all of the colors that form the white light are absorbed except blue, which is reflected. Now, there's parts of the white light of God I can reflect. There's parts of it I'm opaque. I absorb it, it stops. As a prophetic people, if you really want to do this thing, it's all about reflection. If you're still in Christianity into absorption, that means you can sit under the light and absorb it all day long and reflect nothing. You are colorless. At least some have a blue. The question is, we're striving for white. Acts 20:27 says this, "For I have not shunned to declare to you the whole counsel of God." That's white light. If you look at it, it's the white light of God. It's the whole counsel of God. So as a prophetic people, I'm looking for Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian, Catholic. I don't care. We're looking for white light. Now, if one particular denomination is wanting to shine one particular color of light, well, so be it. But as a prophetic people, you got to do white. God's placed everybody in the body where it pleases Him, not you. You just got to learn to go white with the light. Are you catching what I'm saying? Okay. Now, if you see this right here, can y'all see this? This is a little home experiment you can do. Fill a glass full of water and you let the light shine through it. Well, you see to the left, it's still white, but to the light, it starts to divide. It works as a prism. It starts to reflect in the different colors that are in the white. I think I got one more. There it is. You can see when it goes, that prism is curved. It's got a little curve to it. It's not straight. When the white light goes in the center of it, it's what? It hits white on the other side. Put a little curve to it, it turns the color. Something's bending the light. Now watch this. Your perceptions create a translucent filter unto the light that is received. Your perceptions. Y'all, I've taught you perceptions. A perception is an observation and interpretation based chiefly off of memory. So your perception, how you see things, is an observation of how you see things, but it's based on your memory. So how do I get into truth? I'd say I'm not using my memory. I'm using faith. I'm using faith in God, this absolute that sits over here. Every now and then I'll look to the right, see if I'm rolling. Right? I've got the truth. I am constantly putting myself up against that truth so that I know my perceptions, how I am viewing things, is being held under the idea of the whole counsel of God. If you're going to be a prophetic person, you can't be single-minded. Right? You've got to see the whole counsel of God. What is it that God's doing on the planet? Light is vibration. I'll not get through this one probably, but now, light comes through. You got white light, turns in different colors. You reflect what part of the light you let in. Light, though, is a vibration. The entire electromagnetic wave spectrum of visible light produces different colors. Colors are simply waves vibrating at different frequencies. So, what makes white light is, see, light does not vibrate. The vibrations are light. So, well, Alan, you might need to write that down because you can think about it. Light does not vibrate. Vibrations are light. In other words, light's doing something. It's alive. So when does the light in you become real? When you vibrate. Light doesn't vibrate. Light is vibrations. The light of God in you doesn't become real until you vibrate. It's in there, but it's not reflecting. You got it, didn't you? I can feel it. Let's move. Our frequency of perception defines what we can and cannot see within the visible spectrum of light. Your perceptions, or how you see things, determines how the light comes through you, how you see. So would it not be that your perceptions of life should not be based on your memory? How do you know that your memory has been cleaned up so you have correct perception? It's because it's all went to the cross. If you keep blaming somebody for something, guess what? You hadn't taken it to the cross. Your perception of life is it's not, your frequencies are being messed up here. You're not transparent. You're translucent. Something say, well, this has been bothering me for 10 years. Well, you need to take care of it. That's what you need to do. You say, well, they done it to me on purpose. Well, forgive them on purpose. You got to deal with it. Take it to the cross. So the vibrations that are coming out of your heart is white light. Because light, I think I got it up here. Let me see. Every object in the universe moves and vibrates. Do you know that? Just total science. Everything is vibrating at one speed or another. I've taught this a little bit years past, but not exactly like this. Nothing rests. Everything we see around ourselves is vibrating at one frequency or another, and so are we. In other words, I can say that chair is solid and it's not vibrating. That chair is vibrating so fast you can't see it. It's held together with these vibrating molecules and atoms, and they've been condensed and compressed to where it makes something solid, but it's still full of energy. It's just the biology of the thing. Now, what did I do? Oh, interesting. Yeah, I threw this one in there about 3:30 this morning, so I don't know what it says. Interesting. If a frequency is vibrating fast enough, it's a sound. And if it is vibrating much faster, it is a color of light. Is that not interesting? It is to me. When something vibrates at a certain frequency, it's a sound. You speed it up, it turns into light. If we wanted to convert sound to light, we would simply raise its frequency by 40 octaves. This results in a vibration in the trillions of cycles per second. So if a pianist could press a key above the 88 keys that are on a piano, that key would produce light. This could create a chord of light in the same way they can create a chord of sound. It would be seen as colors of light because it would be moving at the speed of light. Now, you understand what a chord is, most of you? 3-note chord. It's in what you call harmony. Harmony is important in everything. Harmony is important in this church service because it produces a vibration of spirit, and it's real. And if we take our sound, now some of you experience this, if we take our sound and our hearts and our sound of vibration comes into unity, it turns into a spiritual light in this place. Now, I'm telling you, anybody feel it? I'm telling you the truth. Why is unity so important? I don't know. I do know this, that God came down at the Tower of Babel, gave them all these languages so they would not be in unity. Unity is a big deal. Unity doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything. Unity means I'm going to put some of my stuff away so we can. Say, Alan, I got it. Unity is the issue of creating a spiritual sound that draws the light of God. Why do we want to have our lives in unity with God and each other? Because it produces this white light. In this church, we embrace everything that's in this book. If God's done it, we embrace it. We don't hold one higher than the other. God does it, we embrace it. We're not comparing one with the other, we embrace it all. We're not saying one's more important than the other because we embrace it all. It's because we understand that the unity of allowing it all and us agreeing that we're in unity, if we're sitting around arguing about one color of light over another one, guess what? She's not light. She's not white light. I hope you're getting it. We're just about this far away for an outpouring from God that'll draw the nations. We're about that far. You can be so wore out with the presence of God you'd won't go home. We're just that far of reflecting white light. It's the vibration that draws. The vibration of white light. We don't want to draw just blue, pink, yellow. We don't want to draw just, we want white. What is white light? It's the love of God. The love of God. The love of God is white. The love of God is white light. Say, Alan, I got her and I'll quit. You got her? I got to quit. It's 10:25. I've got to see an experiment to see if y'all understood what I was saying as we go into worship. So let's stand. Lord Jesus, we do love you.